All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for that introduction, Hillary. I don't think I meet the height requirements for the camera, but I still wanted to come in front of here and see if you can see me, but even with heels, I'm probably not making it. But I will step to the side so you may see me in and out of the frame. Again, for those of you who met me in the Meet the Speaker, you'll hear some of this information again, but I am Nicole. I live in Flagstaff right now. I have been with this ASQ section for, I think, since March, and it's been quite the lovely journey meeting peers and, of course, helping volunteer. My background is quite varied. I have been quite the octopus is what I call myself, and I will share a little bit about that in a second. Before we get started, could somebody just verify that the audio sounds pretty good in the chat, or just raising your hand or turning on your mic?
It sounds good.
It sounds good. Thank you. You have been my go-to person. I appreciate it. All right. So I will share a bit about me, but as we get started here, tonight's session is really about having a different mindset about change management. When I look at my own journey and recognizing the struggles I have faced with staff, resistant to change, they're tired, they're just worn out about it. This actually came about as I was delving into how do I help my staff go through the process improvement with the least resistance and be excited about it. So, of course, in my quest for knowledge, I came across this positive psychology approach called appreciative inquiry, and that's really where this methodology stemmed from. So tonight, we're really going to talk about a different approach that you can take when it comes to change management, focusing on the positive side of it. So yeah, who am I? Well, I like to consider myself a bit of a Swiss Army knife or an octopus. These are two things you would hear me talk about. And the reason for that is I have a tentacle or a tool in many different industries: education, HR, project management, quality, and healthcare. So I grew up in the Army, meaning that that's really where I got my first working experience from. And from there, once I left, I got my training in radiology there. I took the giant step from being a technologist into a director. So for the past 15 plus years, I've been in a leadership position. And I work for a couple different online universities, teaching a variety of subjects as needed. I am a dissertation mentor with University of Walden. And currently, I have transitioned completely into consulting and training. So quite a bit of variety, and I do enjoy variety as a spice of life. So this is who I am. For today's presentation, we're really just going to go through a couple of these things here, talk about the traditional approach to change management, and why is it important for us to have an asset-based mindset. And this was a huge turning point for me as a leader and even as an employee to really start focusing on what we have versus what we don't have. Hold on, somebody's talking about the audio. Let's try. Does this sound better? I want to make sure you have a good audio experience. Mark. Or anybody else jump in and say. I will go.
Well, it was better to me before.
It's better before.
It was better before.
How about this? Is that good?
I think so.
All right. Okay, I will stay closer to the mic here.
Yes, that's good.
Awesome, thank you. So we're going to talk about the importance of having an asset-based mindset on what on earth is that, and then really how we're going to apply this as a positive approach to change. I'll share with you a framework and then of course describe the impact of that framework to your team. Now, as we get started, I know you're probably in the background there, you got things going on. I will require some participation in just a bit, so be on the lookout for that. You can just go on your phone. So when we get to that point, it's just a bit, we'll get some participation. You would not have to turn on your cameras or your mic. It'll be all online there. So really, what is the significance of this? Well, when, again, looking at my journey into process improvement and really trying to increase organizational excellence and quality within my organization, I found it was a really, really tough job. I'm dealing with a lot of people that are resistant to change. We're always focusing on the problems and what isn't working. My team was getting burnt out because I'm always coming to them, oh, we need to improve, we need to improve. And as such, it really was a painful process. So my intent for you today is really to give you some tools that perhaps will make your job easier, less painful, especially when it comes to change management, with the key of focusing on what works. Too many times we get into that deficit mindset of everything that isn't working, right? So we want to kind of flip that script a bit with the intent of creating more employee engagement and of course motivating them and inspiring them in order to go ahead with your change management and implementing different initiatives within your different departments. And then also what I recognized with this, and I've tried this on some really tough teams, I got a different sense of energy. It was really interesting. I even tried this with a military group, senior leaders, and I was so surprised to see the creativity, the innovation, and the energy that came out of it. You can imagine a lot of times when we're sitting around, doing a root cause analysis and really getting into the depths of it, a lot of times it's just a painstaking process. We talk about it, we brainstorm. For some of us, it's enjoyable. For some of us, it's not so enjoyable. But when it comes to the team approach, focusing on what has worked really increases the energy, and you see quite a difference with it. Oops. All right, so that's the first one there. If you can pull out your phone and try that QR code for me. And in the interest of working different computers today, just give me a quick second. If that code didn't work for you, have no fear. You will go to menti.com. Hopefully it worked for you. If not, go to menti.com. The instructions are on the top there, and there is your code. So we got two questions here. If you can just share with me, what is your current job or role? If you are retired, if you can put your previous role for me there, that just helps that as I'm going along, I can give some specific examples. Thank you, quality engineer. And I know I got 34 of us online here, so let's try to get a little bit more than 20% participation. If we can. QA supervisor, awesome. Technical trainer, executive, quality engineer, thanks. Michelle, yeah, if that link didn't work for you, that's another option there. Put it in the chat. Thank you. What else? Let's see if we can get two more answers there. Oh, awesome. R&D manager. Software quality engineer. Cool. Forensic scientist. Wow, what a cool job for me. Lab quality coordinator. Awesome. Consultant in quality. Wow, I'd like to share some more ideas with you. Thank you. Change agent. I love it. Yes. Quality engineer, lead infrastructure engineer, process improvement, project management. Raul, we share some traits there. Awesome. Instructor. Excellent. QA manager, calibration, QE specialist. Quite the variety. And I will tell you, this approach can work in any industry. So that's the beauty of it. It's very versatile. Awesome. Okay, let's go to the next question real quick here. What are the problems you're facing? I really wanted to time this to see how quickly people can list their problems. Too much work. Yes. Now, we're doing a whole lot more with less these days. Time management. There's just not enough time in the day, right? So much work to be done. Lack of resources, people, lack of accountability. Ooh, that's a good one. That's a whole other workshop right there. Communication, retention, that's a big one. Everybody is leaving the jobs in droves, the great resignation. Don't know what that return to work would look like in the future. I know if you go on Indeed and you look at the number of jobs, it's really frightening to see the number of open positions around. Workload, commuting, frequent change. Wow, that's quite the common one. And I will tell you that there has been one of the most common complaints within any organization that I have worked in, especially when it comes to process improvement. I don't know which version we are on. How many times we're going to change? Is there ever a time, Nicole, that we would get it right? You know, quality improvement is a continuous journey, but a lot of times our staff is looking at this as a destination, right? Let's see, requirements, regulatory requirements, organizational requirements. Yes, definitely put some strain on us. I saw in the chat lack of leadership. That's one that really hurts my heart. I belong to several different groups and I see all the comments about the leaders that we have. And I know it's subjective, but it's really disheartening to see how people are feeling about their leaders. Let's see, people are not motivated. Well, hopefully today, after this, you can go back in and try these strategies and as a means of getting them inspired. It's not going to change it completely, but if you take these steps and you do it frequently, you'll definitely see, I'm not guaranteeing you, but I can definitely say that it has worked for multiple organizations I've worked for in the past, and those you know, teams that have had low morale and just really cynical about change and they hate everything about the department. I have seen some turnaround there. Lack of organizational stability, reorg every 90 days. Well, Raul, you know, on one hand, people are talking about, well, yeah, we need to be flexible and agile. Things are moving so fast, we need to continue moving. But on the other hand, you know, it's like you're coming around that racetrack and you're trying to take that turn and you're like burning the wheels, trying to keep control and staying on the racetrack. So yes, you know, that consistently reorganizing could put a significant toll on our team. Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing that for me. And the purpose of this was really to highlight how quickly we can talk about all the things that are going wrong with us, right? Oftentimes you ask somebody, oh, tell me what's wrong with your spouse. We can list the laundry list, right? They leave the towel on the ground, the toilet seat is up, all of these things we start talking about. Tell me all the things that is wrong with your leader or wrong with your team. We can probably get at least 20 things said within 30 seconds. But when we start changing our mindset about that, you will see how challenging it is to think about all the things that are going right. So that's where we're heading today. So let me get a quick second to go back. Thanks for engaging. And, you know, on one hand, I like to say misery loves company. And this is another reason I enjoy networking and coming to these meetings, because when we have similar problems like this, we can definitely look to the person to the left and right and say, tell me, what have you been doing to help motivate the staff in these trying times? So what have you been doing managing your lack of resources? So, you know, as you're experiencing these things, I would strongly urge you to reach out to colleagues, network, and start that conversation. Help me understand what it is that you've implemented that has worked. Now, what are some of the methods that you've used when there is a problem? You've all worked in a variety of organizations here or in a variety of roles. You have your go-to method, right? DMAIC, RCA, your 5 Whys, Six Sigma. You have all of these tools that typically you would use, or even something that your organization prompts you to use. So, you know, most times people are like, yeah, I'm always using, you know, root cause. We like to brainstorm. We like to encourage the team to come up with these ideas, or we'll just do a deep dive with the 5 Whys. It seems to be the easiest, and we really get staff to think about what is the problem at large. And of course, you have your fishbone diagram there. So I see Some of you are saying, yeah, you use your brainstorming, your RCA. Is anybody using anything other than this? Anybody in the audience here? What's your go-to? Let's see, let me go here. What is your go-to tool? Benchmarking, Agile, yes. Very common. Hillary, what are you using in your department? Are you anything specific?
Benchmarking is fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Start with why. Yeah, the 5 whys, very, very helpful. And it gives us more substance to why something is happening versus the first glance of maybe this is the reason, right? Workload balancing, that's a very good one, especially in looking at your utilization and your resources available. Excellent. Great. So we definitely have our go-to tools when something isn't working. But where does that get us? Think about this for a second. When you have poor results, you have something that is suboptimal, you have a complaint, right, or a problem within your department or your organization, you come and you use one of those tools, you're able to find solutions, but where does that get you? To an acceptable result. This is accepted. This is the status quo. We got to 98%, we got to 100%, and guess what? We get satisfied, right? We're happy with where we are. But where is the innovation happening? What pushes us beyond that status quo? Right? When we understand the reasons for something happening and you develop solutions, and those solutions meet your needs, your customer is happy, your employees are happy, the organization is doing well, how do you push yourself beyond? Anybody wants to share that maybe in the chat for me? Oh, Raul, yes, theory of constraints. How do you push your team to develop solutions beyond the acceptable? KPI and metrics. But Nina, when I hit my benchmark, when I hit my metrics of 98% customer satisfaction and 99% error-free, I get to that acceptable result, the status quo. We want to be at 99%. We want to be at 100%. But how do we push ourselves further? Lessons learned, okay, post-mortem, you can do all of that. But again, how do you develop innovation? How do you determine, is there more to this? Is there something we haven't thought about? How do you get into the stratosphere of a solution? Yeah? And that's exactly where we're going. So you're probably thinking, like me, that, hey, once I get to that metric that I'm seeking, things are great, right? I get to the 100%, wow, team, we've done really well, or I got to that 60% when we're at 45%. Hillary was just showing us, right? She showed us the response rate of 24%. You know, when she gets to 35%, 80%, whatever, we start celebrating. So once we hit that benchmark, what happens? We're like, yeah, everything is going well in the association, but how do we go beyond that? And that is what I'm challenging all of you to think about. How are you fostering creativity and innovation with the current metrics that you have? And to be honest, of course, KPIs, metrics, all of these things have a place, but they're also quite limiting on our creativity and how much we're allowed to dream. How can we push ourselves to achieve the unthinkable within our organizations and our team? Now, the other thing too, the problems with problem solving. We have a lot of challenges, and especially when you work in an organization that you're depending on a lot of other people, you can start pulling your hair out. You know, the director of this department has been, you know, on FMLA, or you're waiting for a member of their team and they're just not available because everybody's doing more with less. So you have to wait on somebody else when you want a problem solved in your department. Sometimes it's multiple departments deep. In healthcare, I'm waiting on the ER, I'm waiting on lab, and it's just very, very frustrating because I want to move. I want to make sure that I'm meeting my KPIs and my metrics there, but what ends up happening is I'm waiting on everybody else in order for me to get my work done. And as somebody talked about earlier on, a big problem is compliance, right? Regulatory compliance. If I don't solve these problems, guess what? I am going to get penalized. Forget that the organization doesn't have the talent or the resources, but me as the leader there is going to say, Nicole, you dropped the ball, or Nicole, why is it that we didn't meet the compliance, right? So unfortunately, even though we try, not solving these problems definitely can penalize you. And then overall, it is just a challenging process. It's difficult. It's labor intensive. It's consuming. It's enjoyable on one hand, but the amount of paperwork, the amount of meetings, all of these things that we have to go through, it just becomes too much for our team to bear. The investigations are long. And then when you solve the problem, what do you find out? Oh, okay, we got to go continue improving again, right? The team gets cynical about change. Here we go again, another change improvement. What version are we on, Nicole? Right? Yeah, we can do PDCA, all of these, right? We go through them, and we go through them as part of what we do. But unfortunately, think about how people feel about change management in your organization. Maybe you're fortunate and you got that high-performing team and everybody is enjoying what they're doing. They're seeing the fruits of their labor. But for a lot of us, change makes us fatigued. Yes, exactly. But in addition to being fatigued, it also makes us cynical. We start just, really hating what we're doing. People they can't keep up, right? They feel like they're just there to perform rather than really getting the praise for the work. I learned this the hard way. I am a go-getter, right? I came from the military and then I went into private practice, and we're all about productivity and efficiency. We're always looking at that 100% metrics. Then I went to Guam and there were a lot of challenges there, and our metrics was like below the 50% mark. And I am, in my traditional problem solver hat, Mrs. Fix It here. I want to fix everything, but we're pushing the needle really small. Go from 50% to 50.5 or 51, and I'm like, no, team, we need to get to 80%, 90%. Otherwise, we're going to get penalized. Otherwise, we can get shut down. But at the end of the day, it's like, consistently whipping them on the back. To get from 50% to 50.5, that was a huge step for some of them. And I had to acknowledge that. So again, sometimes in the whole change process, we're just not feeling valued as employees. Is change leading to meaningful improvement? Oh, it stepped away. Let me take a look at that question there. Only babies like change, definitely. And that's a key statement here, because you know what? We come into organizations to fix processes and to fix people. Nobody likes to be fixed, but that's a huge downfall, especially for us as leaders. We come in with the intent of fixing people, but they are not meant to be fixed. So the question is change leading to meaningful improvement or just rearranging the deck chairs? I'd like to hear some feedback on that. If the change is leading to meaningful improvement, are we going to see something different? Kind of depends, right? It depends on how the team feels. Is that really meaningful improvement, or is it there to fill somebody's pocket? Somebody's going to get a bonus. Somebody's going to get the reward, the award for the best in class. It just depends on how they view it. And again, this is why we really need to evaluate our current change management methods to determine, is there something else we should try? All right. So when we go through all of this problem solving, what do we learn? You do your 5 whys, you use your fishbone, you're brainstorming to solve your problems. What do you learn? What are you thinking you're learning? Waiting to see if anybody is running to the chat there. What do we learn? You sit with your team, you're in an hour and a half meeting long, you've just dug into something that has occurred. What do you learn? Everything that you did wrong, what contributed to the problem. And you know what? We continue to do this over and over again. And yes, Nina, you problem solved to improve the process. But as you problem solve, all you figured out are all the things that went wrong so that you can implement solutions. But when we do this over and over and over, what are we focusing on? We are focusing on the deficits, and in the traditional sense, coming with the fix-it mentality to fix it. And let me tell you, I was queen of fix-it. I can come in and I am, equipped with all of these process initiative tools, and I can fix things in my department. But unfortunately, it does have its place, but unfortunately, we need to have better methods or other tools that we can use so we come out of this deficit-focused mindset. Again, coming back and being, cynical about it, but think about your relationship or your children or the area that you're living in or your department. You can list everything that you have going wrong for you. But if we were to look at each other and say, hey, tell me, what are the 5 good things that happened to you today? What are the 5 good things that are happening in your organization? You may have to pause a bit because we're just not training our mind that way. And this is what I'm saying for us to consider the challenges associated with traditional change management. Let's not just focus on the problems and the shortcomings, but let's focus on the assets. Because if you want to be better at something, what do we do? Oh, sorry. If we want to be better at something, what do? We don't go finding the things that we're really bad at, right? If I'm really good at something, I am a great connector. I am great at crucial conversations. I will continue to doing more of that. We had somebody talking about they're a consultant. You are consulting on the things that you're really good at. Today somebody needed some help with creating a graphic, and I'm like, sure, let me help you, you're in a bind. And I realize I'm really, really bad at creating graphics. So that is not something that I would ever offer somebody. So when we want to be better at something, whether it is personal, professional, in your organization, you're not going to concentrate on all the things that are going wrong. You're going to focus on the things that you're good at. Peter Drucker says, when we amplify our strengths, our weaknesses become irrelevant. And I know that brings up a lot of conversation because people then say, so Nicole, you're saying don't focus on the problems? Not at all. There is a time and a place for that. But I'm also saying, let's focus on what we're doing well, what's going right. And here is the root cause of success, past, present, and future. So let's do another quick poll here. Thank you for that. Fixing your problem only achieves a 3 sigma quality. Meaningful change requires innovation. Exactly. And that is the point we're trying to get to. But too many times we're just constrained with that deficit mentality. All right, so let's go there. Hopefully you've gotten that, and I will get there too. Hold on a quick second. Almost there. All right, so you should be having a question there. Problems, come on. What's going well in your department? If you're using the chat, what is going well? Screen is coming up in a quick second here. You really got to think about this one, right? So many things that we're frustrated and disappointed and angry about. So what's going well in your department? Focus on your strengths to build resiliency, credibility, exactly. When we focus on our strengths, well, I'll have to come back to that one. That is a powerful statement. Teamwork, what about the teamwork? Give me something really specific. What about those interactions? People not coming with attitudes, people are respecting each other, people feel included, exactly what is going well. And it's important that we get into the fine understanding of what it is that is going well. Problem is recognized. Is it recognized within 24 hours? Is it recognized before it makes an impact? So dig a little bit deeper there for me. Identification of issues. What issues? Life-threatening issues. That's huge for me in healthcare, right? Defects. Is it before it happens? Is it immediately after it happens? Jennifer says, working from home, no interruptions, more work done. Yes, so your productivity is going well for you, which of course translates now into revenue or efficient processes within your organization. They want to do it right. Thank you. What they want to do right. What is right? Right in ethics, the right way. Because I can tell you, sometimes we have policies and procedures, but when Nicole works, it's one way. When Bob works, it's another way. So we both think that we're doing it right. So again, get a little bit granular there for me. Realizing we do have a, ooh, it got cut off there. Each has a piece of their puzzle, and it's great when you know, that puzzle comes together to create the whole. Definitely, people care about others. Yes. Now, others, is it their team? Is it the customer? So do you see, when we talk about what's going well in the department, we really want to understand exactly what it is, because what we're going to do is to continue doing more of it. If you have people treating each other right, they're respecting each other, what are the contributing factors there? Excellent. Belonging, discovery. Ooh, I wonder what you mean by discovery there. All right, let's jump back into the presentation. And this is exactly where I'm heading with this, the root cause of success. We want to identify what is going really well and understand it some more. Why is it that you feel a sense of belonging? Why is it that you're more productive? Why is it that you have won the award? Why is it that you haven't had a worksite error in the last 90 days? Why is it nobody got hurt? Worst case, no one got killed, right? Why? So we start asking the question, why is it that we're being so successful? So let's look at step one. The first step really is changing the mindset, being open to this. And again, I'm not saying cast away your traditional approaches. They do have value, but I want you, instead of focusing, oh my goodness, what I don't have the team, I don't have the technology, my leader sucks. Let's not focus on all the problems. Let us look at what we currently have and what is working. That is going from a deficit-based mindset into an asset-based mindset. And like it says, it is like mining for gold within your own backyard. Sometimes we get so glazed over at the problem, we really don't even understand all of the gold that we have within our department, the gems, you know, the strengths that lie within our organization. And I do agree, it may be very tough to see that, especially if you have a stressful job, toxic culture, but even amongst that, you could find something that is inherent to the team, inherent to the organization. And I can tell you, you know, there was one team in particular, when we started changing the mindset, it was truly remarkable to see how they stopped complaining about, oh, this is how it is, and we don't have the resources, we're never going to have money. Just even their approach to work. You can come in and you can feel the difference in energy. Not everybody are being Debbie Downers, or, you know, they're excited about their work. So starting with changing the mindset is huge. Somebody talked about being a change agent. I believe firmly, we really need to have change management skills. And in some cases, for some projects, you actually do need a change agent there who can help the team navigate through the change process. All right, step 2. Let's now uncover the underlying factors of your success. Why is it that you have had some employees stay there for the last 15 years? Why is it that you're able to attract candidates better than the other organization? So we start looking for the reasons. Why are these things happening? What is a contributing factor to success? Why is it that we are coming with a near zero era? Or in one of the initiatives that I had in healthcare recently was getting to theoretical zero. This is a human-based approach. Unfortunately, we are going to have some deaths by era, but how can we get to theoretical zero with preventable errors? Why is it that I have staff in this one department that is just, high morale, high energy? What is causing that? Why is it that I'm not having customers complain? Why is it that with this one particular supply, we're always having it on hand? We never run out of this. So we start looking for the key areas that is contributing to your success. So and again, the key thing is really start shifting. I know the organizations, they command us to look at the problems, but we have to look at the reasons why success is happening. So the second step is the discovery. Just as you went through there, what has gone well? What has contributed to your success? I look around at some of my peers here, they've had, extensive careers, and you think, okay, what has contributed to your success as a quality engineer? What has contributed to your success as a leader, leading your teams? So you start asking these questions, why have we been successful? And then the key thing, somebody talked about we're reorganizing every 90 days. That's kind of the reality for some of us. But you look to your team or you look to the organization as a whole and said, oops, what happened? And say, team, if we had to change everything, we recognize, I think it was Raul saying, every 90 days we're changing. But if I had to come to you and ask you, what is the one thing that you're not going to change? What is it going to be? 100 years from now, what are you going to carry forward from today? In 200 years, if the organization is around, in 5 years, we're consistently evolving. But what is the one thing you're going to keep? And for those of you who are leaders, do this with your team as well. For us as a team, people are going to come and go, but what is the one thing we're going to keep? Think about that for a second. In your department, in a current project, in your own self. I was telling the Meet the Speaker room, I used to be super shy and introverted. So I evolve as a professional, as a person. I evolve as an employee. The organization is in constant metamorphosis. What is the one thing you're going to keep? And this is, we hold on to that because that's going, and the reason for that is because that is going to be the core of who you are, right? That is going to be close to your values and your mission and your purpose. We can change completely different color, but I am going to keep this one thing about my team or this one thing about myself. And then once you identify that, we know we're going to consistently change. Now we're going to deep dive into why we're successful. Start asking yourself those questions and provide the explanation, just like you've done your 5 whys and your RCA. Do the same thing for why you're successful. And I know it seems like, oh gosh, Nicole, who has time for this? Well, we got to make time for it in order to drive that innovation, in order to make sure that we keep our teams energetic and the morale up. In addition to asking ourselves what is going well right now, we're going to also look at the past. Bob, tell me about a time you had an outstanding result in your project. You look to your team and you ask that. You look to your team even as a leader. Sam, tell me about a time that you had exceptional leadership in your life. Tell me about a time that your team worked collaboratively and it was just the bomb, that you enjoyed this team, that you were ready to get to work and you were energetic to go. Tell me about a time that we had great retention in this organization. And you know what? That history is important for us because it means that if we did it before, we could probably replicate it again. Why did it go well? Who was around? What contributed to the success? What was the impact? And again, this can be done for you as a professional. What contributed to your success? What went well in the last 5 years of your career? What is going well with you working as a remote worker? Well, goodness, I don't have these interruptions. I don't have the gossip. I don't have the water cooler conversations, right? So we start looking at what is contributing to the success. And also from the past, so you come into a new organization, or even if you've been working there several years, you look to your team, okay, team, tell me the last time you had a project that was on time, on budget, great leadership, stakeholder involvement. What did that look like? Because we're going to use what it looked like to now implement it in our current state. Or we can look at what's going well for us right now. Why are we keeping up in the association? Why do we have at least 40 people every time? What is contributing to that? Well, we got speakers, we got events, we got networking. Deep dive into what are the success factors to get you where you are today. Why are you getting a 78% result? Why are you getting your Six Sigma quality? And how are we maintaining this position month after month? How come our team is functioning well? The other department is talking about, they have to go to HR, they're dealing with all of these issues, but our team, we don't have that stuff. Why? Not because we're high functioners, we like each other, but we really need to deep dive why. People have each other's back, they're respectful, they understand, we have team events. Because when we understand why it's going well, we need to replicate it. So these are some examples here of questions that you can ask them, right? Why is it that you have the skilled workforce in the organization 2 streets down, they're suffering? Why is everybody leaving them to come to you? Why is it that your customers are just sharing all over social media about your organization and your product? So focus not only on the past, other organizations, their own experience as an employee, but you can also bring the focus front and center. What is going well for you? And why is this important? Why do we look at the past and the future? Well, more importantly, when we start looking at the past, we are confident with the direction we're heading in. I like to joke, I made it through the gas chamber when I was in basic training. And I say, listen, if I can make it through the gas chamber, I can make it through anything. So I look at my past, and that past is going to give me the gusto to go forward. In your organization, maybe you've been through trying times, right? What got us through those trying times? What got us through when we had 4 people on a project or an initiative when we should have had 10? When we know we did it in the past, it gives us confidence that we can go forward. This is where the resilience. Now, we're not saying, hey, we're going to continue accepting more, doing more with less, but you can get your team through these trying times. Team, we've been there, we've done that. We've held on strong, we can do this again. And then too, when you start talking about, if something works, let's do more of it. Let's share it. If I tell you what's working well for me to retain my staff, let me share it with you. Let me share it with the department next door. So then you can go and implement that, or we do more of it. If the customers are raving about your team, what is it that they're raving about? What is it that they like? They like the customer service. They like how they greet them. Okay, well, what's contributing to that? Oh, you know what? We put everybody through training once a quarter. Let's do more of that. Let's make sure that the budget isn't cut for that training, because it's with that training, we get the result that we want. And again, when we look at the past, we look at what's working. The team is now ready to move forward because they've seen the results. They've seen the success in the past. And you may say to me, Nicole, what happens to new employees? Well, again, they're looking back collectively at their experience, what has worked well for them. So let's look at step 3 here, dreaming. When was the last time you sat in your office with your team and really dreamt? Or when was the last time you sat with your association? It's 2025. Where are we at as a team? Where are we at as an organization? What does success look like? Start asking your team this, and I can tell you when you start doing, the energy is different. You start dreaming about your own self. Oh yeah, I'm going to go to this cruise. Oh, I'm going to go get my degree. And you start planning all of these things. You have anticipation. You're moving forward with it. What does success look like? Okay, it's 2025. What have we done? What were our achievements? What did we excel in? How did we work together? What did my leadership look like? And then once you're done, the next few steps, we're going to document these best practices, and we're going to make sure that we continue doing more of it. Just like the athlete, they focus on one thing that they're good at, the backstroke, basketball, whatever it is, and they get better. They do more of it, and we share our skills and knowledge with others. The last few steps, investing in the resources that contribute to that success. You know, there was a time that one of my teams, the morale was low. Everybody was bickering with each other. And we'd actually taken away lunch Fridays because we were spending a lot of money on the team. And I looked at them and I said, you know, tell me about a time we were engaging with each other and we were collaborating and you guys were really happy with each other. What did that look like? And somebody jumped up and said, well, yeah, Nicole, you know what? We were having a potluck, but it wasn't just a potluck. It was where other departments came in and they just had 5 minutes to decompress and engage with each other. I got to see my colleague for 5 minutes because otherwise we're buried deep in work, and it made it more meaningful to me. So, okay, how can we do that again? Can't just be everybody bring food and throw it in the back of the room and that's it. You eat when you can. No, what did that look like? Well, we paused everything and we just connected for 5 minutes. Came in and spent time in the room. So we just designed it again, just like that. And that's what you're going to do as part of that continuous improvement there. Rinse and repeat. Understand what worked, and let's continue doing that. So this is a method that can definitely help you drive that transformative change that you want, get you past that status quo. When we focus on that strength, what has been working well, it gives us the gusto and the motivation to continue. Not like, oh my gosh, it's just another change here again, right? I've got to be on this other meeting here. There's no energy and gusto with that at all. So with this approach, we can understand exactly what are we really good at, and let's do more of it. And then dreaming. Dreaming and play has kind of gone out the window. We just leave that for the young ones. But we need to bring this back into our teens. This is where we can unlock the world of possibilities. I did a quick exercise. Tell me about a time you had great customer service. Well, Nicole, I went to this restaurant and I was expecting just to have a regular meal, but the waiter came and he had a tuxedo and this white towel over his hand. And he was like, hello, ma'am. What can I get for you this evening? And I was not expecting that. So we started talking about this and everybody sharing their experiences. And we were trying to improve customer service in a particular organization. And we had the team just pour into all of their experiences and we're like, okay, how can we create something similar? They were struggling with their clients were complaining about the parking, how far it was from where the door is at, missing their appointments and so forth. So they end up dreaming and creating. What if we had somebody dressed in island wear in a golf cart coming up to them and saying, Mrs. Danraj, we have been expecting you. Jump in, I will take you to the door. Could we get that when we do a deep dive on a problem? Probably not. But when we come together and we dream, we brainstorm and we attach it to dreams, tell me the craziest things of what we can do. Let's have no ceiling. Let's have no constraints here. And you're going to uplift your team by just allowing them to think about the impossible. And then when they think about that, there's something to work towards when you now design it to implement it. These things inspire, they create resilience and employee engagement. When you start asking people, come dream with me, let's have a dreaming session, yeah, more than likely they're gonna be like, what? But once you start engaging them, there's a whole different energy. All right, so we go from the frustrated to like, let's do this, because you know what? Wow, look at this initiative. Nobody would ever believe that we did this. Can we really pull this off? There's a level of excitement and engagement with it. I challenge you, give it a try, because you're going to go from just a problem solving to the acceptable status quo, the 100%, to now pushing it to something that you would not have ever imagined, the innovation. All right, so now you can hopefully use this. I will send this out to Bob that you can have the presentation, but the next time you decide to do a 5 why or develop your fishbone here, take out the problem and let's look at the success, or let's look at what you want to create. What is contributing to this? Why did it happen? Who is involved? And start digging deep in there. So this is a summary of the framework. What are the root causes of success in your department? Let's put aside the problems for now. They're always going to be chasing after us. And what are the things in your department or your team or yourself or in your leader or in your organizational culture that you want to keep? Or in the industry? What are the strengths that you have that helps you move forward? And then let's think about the future. In 3 years' time, in 5 years' time, what are we doing? And then we design our life around that. Forget the current state for now. It's going to be there. It's going to be gnawing at us. But let's pause for a second to take this to a higher level. So as a recap, you start with a self-assessment, right? Think about the things that is really being highlighted for you. What are people complimenting the organization or the team about? Start there and dig deep into that. Why are we successful? Analyze the success factors. And then when you find them, repeat them, share them, document them. Don't ever let them get out of your sight. Make sure that resources are still dedicated for it. So I told you that this approach is rooted in positive psychology, specifically appreciative inquiry, where we are appreciating the best of what is. Remember, organizations, all systems have untapped, rich stories. We're not just focusing on the problems. Start talking to your teams about, tell me about a time you had. Tell me about a time you did. Seek what's going well and continue to build upon those strengths. We're going to still keep our fix-it cat, but I urge all of you to also dig into why things work. Focus on the assets as well. Tell me, let's plan. What worked well? Language, I like to call it provocative curiosity, is powerful. How we approach our teams for change by language is a key driver for that inspiration and motivation. Invite those positive conversations. Somebody starts complaining about something. Oh, tell me about a time that you had this really well, and you can flip the script that way. Now, when we look at this, the traditional approach is there is a problem, we analyze the cause, we develop the solution, and we implement the action plan. Because we all look at organizations as a problem to be solved. People need to be fixed, and most of us are in positions to fix it. However, I know it sounds a little bit foo-foo sometimes. And I think when I started looking at this, I'm like, listen, I am not into this touchy-feely stuff. So I do recognize that it may have an element of that, but I still encourage you to try it. Even with the most stoic organizations, hierarchical, commanding, like I told you, I've tried this in military organizations as well. And it's just a different energy and attitude towards it. So we start with valuing the best of what is, dream what might be. Okay, let's now develop what should be. And then in the future, it's 2025, what will be. Organizations are a mystery to be embraced. All right, well, I appreciate it. I know we had some technology glitches earlier on, so I'll pass it over to make sure we have time for questions. Yes, Hillary. That's great. Awesome. I see. Okay. A team should work to reach the process capability, the best the process can do. Yes. So Marco, not just the best, how do we know the best that process can do? That's where dreaming, the innovation comes in. And maybe we can look at a different word other than dreaming, right? How do we get to the next level? And we start with what has been done in the past, what you've experienced in other places. And hey, if there was nothing holding us back, we were floating into the stratosphere, what is it that we can create? Yes. Now, the other thing too, you mentioned it's presented to management to decide if they are acceptable to them. Some organizations allow a bit of experimenting, allow these innovative ideas. Some are very, stoic, like I said, nope, it's got to be this. We use the PDCA, we use the MAKE, sorry, that's all we use. And unfortunately, that's where they're always going to have that status quo. So if you really, and then that's how you're also going to have a fatigue culture, people who are just disengaged. They don't want to be any part of it. They're just going through the motions. Somebody offered the Clifton Strengths Finder. Yes, you can do that for your teams, but also, get your team involved and start asking them. Because everybody may have a different idea of what is the one thing that we're going to keep. And that's going to start generating people to have conversations and think as well, oh, you know what, I didn't think about that. And the other person might like, oh yeah, that seems interesting. I thought it was, what we're known for, but really it's us as a team. It's the heart, it's our workforce. We're skilled. All right, well, that's it. If you want to connect with me, you want to talk more about this, as you can see, I can talk for days on this topic, and I would love to hear your stories, especially if you decide to implement these. And then if you thought that, no, I'm going to stick with my traditional methods, I'd also like to hear from you. So there's my contact. Thank you to the association for allowing me to present, and thanks for your time tonight.
All right, thank you so much, Nicole, for your valuable presentation. For those of you that enjoyed Nicole's presentation, please be advised that you can actually see Nicole present again at PhoenixCon, as she will be delivering a workshop there as well. So if you'd like to see Nicole again, I encourage you to register for PhoenixCon November 2nd and 3rd of this year. And if you'll give me just a moment, I am going to transfer back to sharing my presentation. Very well done.
Oh, as you were saying that. So in the interest, I know Miss Hillary is going to send a survey in the interest of focusing on what went well. I definitely understand the things that didn't went well, but help me understand my success factors so I can continue amping up my game.
Yes, and as I mentioned previously, when you do fill out that survey, please be specific in your responses. It's great to have the generic responses, but especially when there are less than favorable responses, we do like to know how we can improve. And without those specific comments from you, we can't pinpoint those things that need to change. Okay. All right. All right, just as a reminder, our 2023 program schedule Your ASQ Phoenix SLT is striving to provide 8 hybrid in-person / virtual meetings, 2 per quarter with a guest speaker. At this point this year, we had originally intended to provide 4 in-person meetings, some with the hybrid option. We did miss 1 quarter where that happened. We provided an in-person meeting in March. And then we were supposed to provide another one in June, but it just didn't pan out. But we will be offering an in-person networking event in December, which we hope you will join us for. And that will likely be held at a restaurant of choice. There will be more information about that to come in your email in the next couple months, so please be on the lookout for that. And then we're also, as I mentioned earlier, hoping to schedule another tour at Cooper's Hawk Winery. We had a tour of Sandham Gardens earlier this year, which was very interesting and very informative. Those that attended really enjoyed it. And we actually have a couple of attendees in our in-person audience today that are giving it 2 thumbs up. And then coming up October 12th, 2023, we have Camilla Tuominen, who is going to be presenting Navigating to the Future with Emotional Intelligence and Courage. And as a reminder, our next meeting will be held exclusively over Zoom. So please join us online for our meeting next month. You can find the ASQ Phoenix section on social media. We do have various social media accounts, including a Facebook page, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. So if you're looking for more information on what we've been up to, please take a look at those platforms. Before we end this evening, are there any final thoughts, comments, or questions from our audience? Go ahead and check the chat really quick.
Sign up for the conference.
Yes, please sign up for the conference. Go to phoenixcon.org to get more information about the conference and sign up. As I mentioned previously, we have workshops on November 2nd, where Nicole will be presenting, as well as her son. And then on November 3rd, that's our full conference day with multiple networking opportunities involved as well.
On the 30th.
All right. Well, thank you all for your attendance this evening, both those of you that are online and those of you that attended in person today. It is much appreciated. Until we see you next month or at our next networking event, please be safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
That was a great presentation.
Thank you. I'm glad you
Did a
liked
good
it.
job keeping the audience engaged.
Yeah.
Trying to encourage more presenters to do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just a talk.
Right. But like I was telling earlier, it's like, there was actually